What is up, everybody? This is the Wild Nutrition Podcast, and I'm your host, Chris Heskett, and this is episode 36, I believe. I believe it's episode 36. So, another Unapologetic Friday here. Today's topic is about you getting results. Yes, it's episode 36. A couple of things came up this morning, so I'm just getting this podcast done as fast as I can. So it's going to be a little bit crammed. We are going to actually probably stick with the time because I have something to do right after this podcast recording. So with that being said, let's get into getting your results. If you're new to Unapologetic Fridays, I set a timer for 15 minutes. I curse a lot, so if there's kids in the car, you might want to listen to another episode. All right, timer is set. So you want to get results, but you're not willing to do the work to get results. Look, we all want to have amazing results, but amazing results come from work, especially when it comes to your body. When it comes to your body, all the results come from doing hard shit, like building muscle, hard shit. Getting shredded comes from depriving your body of calories for a long period of time so you get shredded. Like, it's all hard shit. And there's ways to make things easier. There's ways to make things faster. But at some point, you have to realize that at some point, you're going to have to do something difficult. So, I do understand shit gets harder as we get older. It's much more difficult right now with a daughter and then a second one just a few months away of getting all my shit in. Yes, I understand it is harder. It gets harder to do these things. There's excuses, and they're not always excuses. Like, that's just reality is. Working out is harder to get in when you have kids, when you have a full-time job, when you have all these things you didn't have when you were like in your early 20s. It's fucking harder. We can all agree on that. Like, we can wake up earlier. That's harder. We can work out later. That's what I do. It's harder. I'm not nearly as motivated as like if I was able to work out like 9 a.m. in the morning, like awesome. Or 2 p.m. in the afternoon, like awesome. Those were great workout times. You know what? That's not reality. And it's not reality for most people, especially anyone over the age of 30. Like, that's not fucking happening. But there is some things we can do to actually get results. And if you're not willing to do it, why the fuck would you ever expect to get results? And one thing is tracking. And tracking comes up because a lot of people, if you have a poor relationship with food, tracking can really fuck you up in that it can develop poor eating habits, or it can trigger certain responses if you have a poor history with food, which we don't want to do. However, if you don't necessarily have that history, you don't have a history of eating disorders, your relationship with food is decent. Most people have a kind of fucked up relationship with food, but it's like, okay, then tracking is the single best thing you can do to get results. Now, if you have tried tracking and it didn't work, sometimes we don't track everything. This would be like, I'm trying to make a budget, but you leave out your Starbucks runs every morning, or you leave out all the Amazon or the TJ Maxx purchases you do all the time because, I don't want to look at those numbers. You don't track calories because, I don't want to look at those numbers. You don't track your workouts because, I just want to do whatever I feel like that day. Tracking is the best way that you can look at each day and see if you've been consistent, because you can look back and see, hey, why didn't I get results this week? 3 out of the 7 days were fucked. Or I've had clients where, hey, my results stopped happening. Look back to when they were getting good results. Was I eating? I was doing these things. I should probably just go back to that. They go back to that. They start getting results because you have a history of that. So when it comes to anything, tracking and having your numbers, and that's a big scary word for a lot of fucking people. I don't know why. I mean, I get it. It does cause anxiety when those numbers aren't where you want them to be, but at some point, you just have to face reality and look at the fucking numbers. Like, what's the numbers? Put them in an Excel sheet, create a graph, and go. And do Excels suck? Yeah, I fucking hate spreadsheets. You know what they're really good for? Tracking your shit to make sure you're moving forward. Guess what I look at every single Monday in my business? The numbers. Guess what I do with my weight? The numbers. Like right now I'm dieting. What am I doing? Numbers. What do I do with my workouts? Numbers. Numbers. And the reason is numbers are fucking cold. We can argue about weight. It fluctuates. I've posted about this all the time. But at the end of the day, there should be a trend line. Even with the ups and downs, it should look like a stock market. The stock market, like when a stock is going down, it should look like that. There's going to be ups and downs, but the general trend line is going down. So if you're losing weight, yeah, there's going to be weeks that's up, weeks that's down, but the trend line is it's going down. So numbers are fucking cold. They don't lie. They don't care about your feelings. You can make excuses around the number, but the reality is that's the number. Are you closer or further away from your goal? So that's number one. If you're not tracking anything, literally tracking something will help you. But if you're not willing to track something, why the fuck do you expect to get results? You're going to get results by accident. And that means you're going to have a great one-time thing, maybe a couple weeks, maybe a month, but then you're not going to know why it works. Like, great, we did this thing. We didn't track shit. Why did it work? I don't know. I just assume it's this reason. Like, you don't fucking know. So then you can't repeat it because our weight, just like my weight tends to go up certain times of the year. Usually in the winter where there's all the Christmas treats, I'm drinking more, it's hunting season, so I'm working out less. That time of year, I generally put on a couple extra pounds. I know it. I just know that's a thing. But because I know I'm not working out as much consistently, I just know that I'm not going to, and I'm going to reduce my workouts to setting a goal of 3 times per week. And then I know I'm drinking more. I just know those numbers. How many exact drinks? I actually don't know that off the top of my head, but I know it's more because generally on weekends, I'm drinking a little bit more during that time of year. And then I know exactly how to get the weight off because I've tracked those numbers. I know roughly about how many calories I'm eating during that time. It's usually like 3,500 plus during the holiday season. And then I go into January knowing exactly what numbers I need to hit to get results. And that's exactly what I did this year. It's literally just a numbers game sometimes. Yes, hormones play a factor. Yes, your metabolism plays a factor. Yes, your age plays a factor. But at the end of the day, you have to track shit, and numbers don't give a fuck about your feelings. And there's just some things that if you're tracking, it just works out. And there's arguments of tracking calories don't matter because if you cook a food this way, it's off. And if you cook a food this way, it's adds calories. And this way, you can overcomplicate it like that and say that. But at the end of the day, there is only so much energy in a food, which is what calories are. It's just a measurement of the total energy in the food. Just like gas gives your car energy, you eat. How we track it is calories. You can argue that is joules, which is what some countries use to measure energy. It's a unit of energy, and people don't like that this is what we track. And well, we don't give a fuck because we know it works. So if the measurement is off, if it's off every single day, then you're going to have trend lines. Even if it's off, but you're consistently off, you're going to have the same trend line. So let's pretend that you're driving your car and you don't know it, but your speedometer is slow. So you're actually speeding. You're going the speed limit, but the speedometer is up 10 miles an hour. So you're going 35, you're actually going 45, but your speedometer is only showing 35. So you drive and the cop pulls you over saying you're going 45. No, I'm not. I'm going 35. Clock you at 45. I'll let you off with a warning. Next day, same shit happens. Hey, you're going 45. No, I'm going 35. Well, I clocked you at 45. Please slow down. Huh, you think. How the fuck this cop? Then you drive by one of those signs by school, here's your speed. And you're going what you think is 35, but it clocks you at 45. You're like, huh, this is weird. Go by the cop one more time. Next day, day 4, clocks you at 45. Finally, he gives you a ticket, but you're clock 45 and you're like, what the fuck? You go and get it checked out. And yeah, your speedometer is off by 10 miles an hour. Is this a weird example? Yes. However, I did have a car that was not this much, but it was off by 3 miles an hour. So every time it was off by 3 miles an hour. So those little signs, I pass one all the time when was driving back from the gym from work. It would clock me going 3 miles over what the speedometer was actually saying. So we're just extending this example here. So what you do is now you slow down. You're going to drive by this cop every single day. So now instead you're driving 25, which is actually 35 in your car in real life. So you go past. Now you don't get pulled over for speeding. So you go 25. When you need to go 35, when you need to go 45, you just go to 35. When you need to go 55, you go to 45. You just know that the actual car is going 10 miles an hour faster than what the speedometer is saying. So you just adjust accordingly. So when it comes to tracking your calories, it's the same thing. If you're not seeing results and say you're accidentally eating more calories than what are actually in the food, you would just adjust accordingly and decrease. So even though it's inaccurate, it's consistently inaccurate. So you can still make an adjustment, reduce calories, and then, oh, okay, well, actually, now we're in a calorie deficit, and you continue. And that's the power of tracking, even if it's inaccurate. There's a lot of variation with calories in food. So if you're tracking, then you're going to be consistently off. And when you're consistent with something, we have trend lines, we have data, and then we can make adjustments and estimations of, hey, we're not seeing results with this. Let's reduce by 10, 20%. Oh, now we're seeing results. Awesome. That's the power of it. You need to do some sort of tracking. You need to do some sort of measuring, weighing your food scale, learn what an actual portion is. A lot of people don't want that because, again, some people, this can lead to disorder eating, but the vast majority of people, it's not. Learning what an actual portion size, when portions in America are fucked, like super fucked. Most people don't know what an actual portion is. And that's where you'll see, I saw it the other day. So there's a new restaurant coming to my town that's considered upscale. And people are like, oh, all that means is tiny portions and overpriced. And then it's like, well, actually, the super, like some of them, yes. Where you're going to drop like $500 for a meal. Yeah, some of those are like super tiny, but generally most upscale restaurants in this area, like very upscale, they serve what an actual portion is, not what your fucked up version of a portion is of that you get when you go to like the cheapest of the cheap restaurants and they serve you this massive amount of food that you feel like shit afterwards. Like that's not a portion. You shouldn't be having Thanksgiving dinner every time. It's called a feast for a reason. That's not how you're supposed to eat. That's not an actual portion. So when you actually see a portion, like, hey, this is how much is actually in potatoes. Here's how much is actually in rice. Here's how much this is what a serving of pasta really is. Then you actually learn like, oh, this is why I can't control my weight. This is why I'm not seeing the results I want. So does shit get harder? Yeah, but you're already eating 3 times a day. Like when people say, I don't have time for my diet, like you're already eating 3 times a day. You're eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You're eating snacks. What's the difference? Especially if you're already making food, like you're just making food, like just make it fucking healthier. Just swap sour cream for some Greek yogurt. Just make more lean protein, make more veggies, and just reduce the starch and fat in the meal. Like you're already eating. You're already fucking doing it. If you're going out to eat, you're already ordering out. Just look ahead, try to pick better options. You just don't want to. You want to use it as an excuse. Because nutrition, while it's probably the most confusing, it's the easiest one to get started with because you don't necessarily have to make any extra time for it. You can just adjust what you're already doing for it. That most people think they need a diet overhaul. Like, oh, I just can't get my nutrition on. I just need to cut all carbs, but I love pasta. Why the fuck would you cut all carbs? There's no evidence. Like keto's a sham. Low carb isn't necessarily important unless you're like PCOS, and even then you need to eat like 80 to 120 grams of carbs, which means pasta can still be in there. Maybe you just have to get gluten-free pasta or maybe whole wheat pasta, but you can still eat it. So you don't need to cut all of it out. You just need to actually like eat a fucking portion rather than 14 portions. So that's the difference here. You don't deserve any results. You don't deserve it. Like, unless you do the work, you don't deserve it. Now, this isn't to say you're not an amazing fucking person. You're a beautiful person inside and out, and you're wonderful. I'm not saying that. But if you want that dream body, you want unlimited energy, you want muscle mass, you want confidence, you want just to feel amazing, why the fuck would you get that if you're not eating well, if you're not sleeping, if you're not working out? Like, that's not going to happen. You have to do that. You have to take the action. And if you're not where you want to be and you're not doing anything about it, then you actually have to do, it's going to take work. Your lifestyle puts you into this hellhole that you're in. So now you actually have to like do work to get out because your lifestyle puts you in there. Like, okay, well, like you're drinking every night, you're slamming excessive amounts of caffeine, and you don't work out at all. You barely get any steps in, and your diet is like cereal in the morning. You have some like sandwich, or you go out to eat every single day for lunch, and then you come home and you have mostly just like pasta for dinner. Like, yeah, you're going to feel like you just ate refined carbs all day long. Yeah, you're going to feel like shit. You know what we do? What's the easiest fucking thing we can change? Well, probably you're not eating like just pasta. Maybe it's like, okay, we do this sauce on it. Maybe we should just like add some ground meat to that. Do a quick side salad. Like, you can buy pre-made salads at the fucking grocery store. Maybe we just do that and like reduce the pasta portions. We didn't really change much at all. Maybe we just get more sleep. Then you don't have, and reduce alcohol. And then you're not going to be slamming as much coffee. Then your body's not going to be as stressed out. Like, start with the easiest fucking thing. Everyone thinks you have to overhaul everything at once. The results you're looking for, to be honest, they're at least a year away. They're a year away, which means you have fucking time to get all of it done. Everybody gets, I'm the same way. I'm the same way with my mentors. Like, I want to do all the fucking things. I want all of it. I want to learn all of it. And they're like, no. Maybe you should work on the things that, like the lowest hanging fruit, or the things that are going to make the most impact right now. I want to start a podcast. Is that actually going to help you with where you're at with your business? Oh yeah. That's why I put it off for literally 9 months of like, okay, finally we have room to start a podcast. I've wanted to do this, but I put it off. I want to do this diet, or I want to start dieting and working out, and I want to sleep better, and I want to do all these things. Well, do you have time to work out? No. Do you have time to take the dogs for a walk twice a day for 10 minutes? Yes. Maybe we start there. You're already eating 3 times a day and you're snacking like crazy. Or maybe you're just grazing. So maybe you're a grazer, and that's the fucking worst. So instead of grazing, maybe we just switch from grazing to like, instead of grazing, like you're going to eat breakfast and lunch, and you don't eat between those 2 times. And the next time is like a 3 p.m. snack. That's it. Like, what's the easiest thing you can do right fucking now to move the needle in the direction of your goal? Like, are we moving to, like, closer to your goal or further away from goal? There's usually no like in between. Very rarely is there in between. Like, starting a business. Are you moving in the direction of actually getting it started? Or are you distracting yourself and it's slowly moving away? No, it's kind of in like, there's no limbo. Like, this was a hard lesson for me to learn of like, you're either moving towards something or moving away from it. It's never really stationary. Like, it doesn't, there's no like pause button. The pause button is like doing the least amount of work. When it comes to like working out your body, I just need to take a break. I just want to maintain your fitness, maintain your body means actually doing work. It's like, okay, well, we're just going to reduce to like working out twice a week. We're just going to do that. Like, We're going to work out twice a week, and that's maintenance. Maintenance isn't time off. Maintenance is twice a week. Of course, this changes if you're in rehab or anything, but that's a whole nother discussion that doesn't even apply to today's podcast. Well, we're at 20 minutes, so I'm over time. I have a call coming up. So, happy fucking Friday, everyone. Go kill this weekend. We are looking to bring on some new clients. So, if you have had, if you've struggled with anything I talked about today, you're not sure where to start, we are looking, we have 3 spots available for April. 3 spots. We just brought someone else on. So 3 spots are available for April. So those are going pretty quick. We're not even in April yet. So 3 spots left if you're interested, or if you just need some help, you can always send me a message, or I get on 10-minute, 15-minute strategy calls with people all the time for free just to help them out. So you are more than welcome to go down to the show notes. I will drop the link for the strategy call down there if you'd like to do that. But the application for coaching is also down there. So enjoy your fucking weekend. Kill it out there, guys.